Hey, what's up, guys? We have an awesome podcast this week. Earlier this year, James and I had the opportunity to interview Amy Koudelka. She's an amazing designer that has worked in the toy industry and met James at Lifetime Brands, and she tells her story from finding out what design is to becoming a senior VP. So it's a great podcast. I think you'll enjoy it. Also, a few promotional things. We always like to thank our partner, Let's Design Daily. They're always posting amazing work on Instagram from designers across the world. So check them out, give them a follow. And we'd also like to promote IDSA's International Design Conference. It'll be virtual this year. It'll be a 24-hour live stream happening September 17th and 18th. There's going to be some awesome presenters like Ariel, the founder of Slash Objects, which is a really cool houseware and furniture design studio. And I got to shout out my professors, John McCabe and Owen Foster. They'll be presenting too, along with some amazing designers. So there'll be panel discussions, workshops, virtual studio tours, and you can network from designers across the world just on your couch or in your office. So make sure you register at internationaldesignconference.com. And you guys know the rest of the deal. I mean, the Discord, that's where the party's at. You gotta join. Just give it a shot. Like, subscribe on YouTube. Give us that follow on Spotify, that 5 stars on Apple Podcast. And shout out to Kiyoshi the Kid for that amazing intro and outro, as always. All right, guys, that's enough of me. Let's get to it. Welcome to Minor Details. I'm Nick.
I'm James.
And I'm Amy.
And we are 3 designers in the big city.
Sweating the small stuff. We are excited to have Amy Koudelka on the podcast this week. She is an SVP of Product Development and Brands at Silvergate Media. She's also an adjunct faculty instructor at FIT for their toy design program. And she is a ray of sunlight. Welcome,
wow.
Amy Koudelka.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is also a beautiful office.
Oh, yeah. This is actually our new podcasting studio.
Anytime. Anytime. We got easels to put all your TVs on.
Yeah.
Come and get them.
But we're really excited. A little bit of background. I worked with Amy at Lifetime Brands.
Correct.
We designed kitchen tools and gadgets, not together, but in tandem.
We should have.
Yeah.
It would have been insane.
Yeah. I don't know what would have happened to the kitchen game. But for better or for worse, we did not work together on any kitchen items, but it was such a delight working with her, and I am so happy to have her on the podcast because I think Amy brings this point of view about, especially in regards to toy design, that we haven't really explored in the podcast yet.
Definitely, yeah.
So welcome, Amy.
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of like toy design's like an unsung hero in industrial design, or at least I feel like that.
Yeah.
Like when I went to industrial design school, it was like I didn't even know you could do it. No one really talks about it, or it's kind of like it's not really seen, in my opinion, like industrial design, but it totally is.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping there'll be like young designer, somebody watching this will see this and be like, oh, I could do that.
Right. Well, I think part of that is because like toy design almost runs, it almost feels like it runs counter to what is preached at design school, which is all of this like form follows function kind of thing. And toy design, it's not that it's not functional, it's just that the function isn't necessarily obvious, but it's also, it's so illustration based and like whimsical and things that like, to design something like what's behind you right now, Amy, which you did you do that at Fisher Price?
Correct. Yes.
It's like this is based in like a world. It's almost closer to like concept art than industrial design in a lot of ways. Am I wrong?
Yeah, and it's actually a big responsibility. Designing for kids, in my opinion, is a big responsibility. You have to really love it. You have to really you take that on and do it right. But doing something to match a show is like whole like next level, because you're going to have millions of people, children, little people playing with this, and they're going to expect the details, the play patterns, the characters, the colors to match what they saw.
Right.
And you want to try to mimic like what they might play out at home while still under the cost constraints you are going to have when you deal with big retailers. So there's a lot to put together there. But yeah, like making sure you follow everything. And a kid is playing with the toys they expect from the show.
Yeah.
You can't give them something that doesn't match, because they're going to get frustrated and they're not going to want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm super curious about is your journey to this point. I mean, we always kind of cover this with the designers who come on, is like, we just want to understand, like, how did you get interested in design, one, and then toy design beyond that? And so where did it all begin for you in terms of just design? Because at first you went to school for industrial design, right?
Correct. And it actually started way before that. It started in like high school when I went to an art high school called Beale Art in, I'm Canadian, in London, Ontario, Canada. So shout out Beale Art. I love that school. I love that school.
You said that was
it's an art high school.
High school. Okay.
And like the kids go and like have like half day art while they finish up all their other stuff.
Where's this high school? I want to go to this high school.
It's amazing. If I ever become a multimillionaire, and I'm making this promise on camera, I'm going to like buy that school or give you guys money. Not that you need it, because the Canadian government's amazing and like funds all this stuff. But there'd be like half day art programs where you would go. And so they had like, all these different foundation courses, like photography, sculpture, textiles, printmaking, animation, graphic design, painting. Every single foundation you would get in like a first year of like college.
That's amazing.
So I did that for half days for 2 years. And then I did my last year, I stayed like a year longer and did full day art. So you pick 2 studios that you want to specialize in, and I picked graphic design and painting. And at the time, I had gone and applied to go to Sheridan College, which is an illustration school in Oakville, Ontario. And I went with like all my friends in the car. We showed our portfolios. It was like 5 of us. The day comes, the day comes when you get your letter from your college, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, did I get in? This was over emails at this time.
Yeah.
And everybody got in but me.
Oh no.
By the way, any young designers watching, you're going to fail over and over and over and over and over again. But look at me now. Look at you. At you.
And where are they?
Well,
we don't have to.
I'm here. I don't know where the rest of them are. But listen, you could. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, man. All your friends got in except for you. That's
all my friends. And we were really close. And like, I was the one who drove the car to the interviews. I was like the big cheerleader for everybody.
Yeah.
Didn't get in.
Oh.
So I was like totally deflated. I remember this moment. You will have moments you remember, I'm sure you guys too. Went into the library in this part of the art school, sat down, and this one teacher came down, sat next to me. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, man, all these people got in, I didn't get in. She looks at me and she goes, well, of course not, because you're a designer. She stood up. She walked out of the room. Like, it was like...
This is like a magical person.
It really was.
She was never seen again. Or before that, either.
It was just...
She
wasn't even real.
School.
I can't make this up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God. I had actually applied to Humber College in Toronto, which is an industrial design. They have an industrial design program concurrently, because my brother's a mechanical engineer. And I was like, I'll just apply to this too. And then I ended up getting into that.
Nice.
And it was meant to happen. Like, I mean, I was just never meant to be an illustrator. So that's where it started.
That's crazy. So do you have any thoughts of like what made you a designer versus an illustrator?
I mean, if I could ask that magical, mystical being, what the hell? I don't know.
Were you like a more systematic thinker, or like was there
more of a 3D thinker?
Like making a lot more models and things like that.
Yeah, and a bit more graphic and 3D.
Yeah.
Whereas the illustrators and all the people got in were very 2D oriented, like great painters, like taking a person and illustrating them. And I was always kind of making everything a bit chunkier, a bit more full, a bit more 3-dimensional. And I think that's maybe but I don't know where she is. But I mean, that's my guess.
If you're still out there, write into Minor Details.
I could send this to them.
Yeah, for sure.
And find out. And I'm sorry I forgot your name and that you were alive.
So you went into this was a traditional industrial design program that you went into?
Yes.
And how was that? What was that like for you?
It was interesting. I was always on the bottom half.
Yeah.
Lower bottom. It was primarily men back then. There was I think 3 girls and there was 5 guys.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I mean, I don't really care about that, but just setting the stage.
Right.
That is known to happen, not as much anymore.
Right.
In design, but back when I went to school 2003, it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
I was always in the bottom. I always felt like I couldn't find my style or whatever. Everyone was into their sweeps because there was a lot of automotive. You know the type.
Yeah.
You know the type. If you're listening to this, you know.
You know who you are.
you're them. And automotive and the sweeps.
Yeah.
And consumer electronics and
Right.
a lot of the people doing the car designs and even the dudes doing the clay of the cars.
Oh, yeah.
And the thesis year.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just couldn't. Into my thesis year, I was like, I don't know, man. I'm doing it, but I don't know if I found it. And then one day I sat at home with Sharpies and I just started drawing. And I was like, oh my God, I should draw a toy. And it happened. Another magical, but there wasn't, that woman wasn't there again. But it was just.
She was very small, apparently, from what you just gestured.
Or very far away. And it was just a moment with Sharpies. And and then I went into class and I said, I want to do a toy for my thesis. And nobody was doing that, obviously.
Nice.
Well, and they were like, yeah, okay. And then I did it. I found it. I found where I needed to be. And I ended up winning 3 design awards.
What?
No more than anyone in my school. And one of the only women to ever do that out of those design awards at the time.
Yeah.
So it was just, I found it.
That's amazing.
What was the
just
toy?
found
Yeah, what was it?
What was the toy?
It's called Yams.
Yeah.
It is a foam building set. So it's like Lego, but they're these giant foam pieces that all go together with pool noodles. And you can build forts, costumes, all kinds of shit.
It can it be found on the internet?
I mean, I don't know. It was on my core flop, but I think I might have.
I'll take a look.
Oh man, core flat. Those are the old days.
And I have a patent on it.
I feel like I haven't checked my core flat in forever.
This is gonna be hilarious.
We
Yams?
can always post a photo later
YAMS
too.
Yams.
Let's see.
Oh my gosh! Don't focus on this.
Hopefully nothing X-rated.
Oh my god. Oh boy. Well, do I sit like that?
Oh, there it is.
That's the toy.
Yeah.
We just
That's
pulled up
the toy.
some
Right
guy
there.
playing piano. I'm not
I have
sure.
a
Yeah,
patent
I
on
know.
that. Patentable.
Oh, no, this is what you can do with it.
I mean,
I
you
get
put it
it.
on your head and then you shove your head
boy.
into another
Oh, boy.
human
Anyway.
and you shove.
But that is awesome. That's such a great story because I imagine that there's a lot of people in school. I mean, I felt similarly of what is my voice? What's my niche here? How do I stand out from the pack?
Did you go through a car phase?
I never went through a car phase.
I had,
So
I
you're
had
like
my, I had
me?
my
You
car
had the
phase.
car phase?
Yeah, I had a car phase.
Really?
Really early on, and then it died out quickly. I was like, this is not going to work.
I feel like you could have been a toy designer.
Yeah, I mean, I went
Oh, you
into
are.
it. My intention was my interest in design came from toys to begin with, and which makes me curious. Was there already an interest in toys that you had that you just hadn't made that association with, or was this sort of a new, you just sort of stumbled on this idea of toys?
Yes, the latter.
Yeah.
It wasn't I love toys so much.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how life just does that sometimes. It
Yeah.
just sat down with the Sharpie and started, and I never was able to just have products come off my hand,
Yeah.
drawing them. And in
Yeah.
that, maybe it was the medium of the Sharpie. I don't know. It was just it just started coming out. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I found what I need to do.
Right.
It was great.
Well, from the way that you described the types of things that you were drawing, in the illustration style of these thick, chunky, that sounds like the Sharpie would lend itself well to that,
Yes.
and then toys, of course, would lend themselves well to that.
Yeah.
So-
Sorry, I was just laughing because I was thinking about life drawing class.
Did you?
And I would draw the rolls on the people.
Yeah.
So I would just focus on the rolls and
man.
like not any more of their body, just like the
Just the roll.
if they had, and I was just like, I couldn't figure it out, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I figured it out.
That woman saw the roles and was like, you should be a designer. It's clear. It's clear.
Oh man.
So you got this award, which is incredible. That's amazing. And then you went on to do what after school?
So after school, won all these awards, and I was like, oh, I should get a phone call. Someone's going to call me. No one called me. And I knew this one guy, Paul Reynolds, who I'm calling out because I love him. Hi, Paul. And he works at Spin Master Toys in Toronto, and he had me come in, and I contracted there for a while, but I really needed to focus just on toy design because it's a totally different discipline. Like, I feel like going into industrial design school is a good foundation for product, but if you want to get into toy, I feel like unless you can get a spot in a company that's going to teach you, you really need that extra layer of just focusing on that. So I found this book called The Toy and Inventor's Handbook, I believe it's called. And there was a foreword in it by Judy Ellis, who is the dean of the toy design department. And I was like, oh my God, they have these schools. I called her up. I got an appointment to see her like the next week, drove all night from Toronto to New York, showed up at her office, and she's like, just come here. Like, just come here.
Yeah.
So while I was waiting to get in, I was going to U of T and taking like other classes, supplemental classes. I like worked at a place making ATM machines and pin pads.
Nice.
You were making them or you were designing
I'm sorry, designing them.
Okay.
I'm making them by hand. I was like a warehouse manager, like going around on a forklift with all these like disgruntled old dudes, and it was just me on like the forklift because I knew I was getting out of there. Like I knew I wasn't gonna stay there, so I was just like, this is a means to an end. I'm gonna be in this forklift right now.
See you later, guys, and you drove off in the forklift.
Pretty much, yeah, they were mad I left. But doing that for a while, so I got some like technical stuff and then went on to New York. Yeah.
And the toy design program, because I'm somewhat familiar with the program.
This is a FIT.
FIT.
Well, you taught there as well.
Well, only because you recommended me for
of course
the
I would.
job.
Of course.
So I taught a CAD class for the toy design program. They haven't let me back since.
I know nothing of this.
I was like, I started off my first class. I was like, toys are ridiculous and for children. We'll be designing ATM machines.
Oh no.
And pin pads.
But yeah, it's a 2-year program, right?
Correct.
It's because I feel like there are some people that are coming back for sort of continued education, but there's also people that have like 2 years illustration associate's degrees.
Yes. The way I kind of look at the program and the people that go in it is I look at it this way, that there are the people who are the industrial designers, like the product designers who have that design background already for product, and they want to get the skinning of the toy design on top of it, which is where I put myself into that bucket.
Yeah.
And then there are the people who are illustrators who love illustration but want to move into toy design.
Yeah.
And I think of them as two totally separate ways of thinking
Right.
and different designers when they end up designers, because it does kind of change the way you design. Are you character first focused? Are you illustrative first focused? Or are you more product? I know you said form before function, but like, I'm more of a form designer before illustrator.
Yeah. That's so. Did you find that in that type of program where you have like, and now that you're teaching there, it's interesting to think about that there are these people with industrial design backgrounds and then illustrator. Do you find that like those students end up like bolstering each other? Like, is there what is that relationship like as like peers?
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. No,
Yeah.
if you go into toy design, if you go into that program, I don't know what the one is in Otis in LA. There's another one, which the FIT one was first, by the way.
I won't tell them.
Just saying. But if you go into toy design, regardless, I feel like I started at saying, it is a great responsibility. Like, you have to take it
Do you
really
give them
seriously.
the Uncle Ben speech?
What is
Uncle Ben?
Spider-Man.
Oh.
With great power comes great responsibility.
James.
And then you like
It's
shoot
true.
a web and jump out the window.
I know it's true. We're thinking toys, who cares, whatever. But it's a
Yeah.
big responsibility. Like you're
Sure.
helping people form who they are as like humans.
Yeah.
And their safety is at risk. So they put everything in their mouth.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like I have
Yeah.
a 3-year-old and it's like I know it now.
Yeah. I am curious. You brought up this term play patterns that I've heard you say, and I've heard people in the program say. I wasn't familiar with it, and I don't know that our listeners would be. So could you expand on that?
I will do my best. I'm not a child psychologist, but but that does come into play here. Different age children. You're the best. I love James. But different children of different ages, like all children, play in a similar way at a certain age. So the way that 18-month-old plays is going to be much different than a 4-year-old plays. And that's where we kind of put buckets of play patterns. So an 18-month-old, we know that they're going to put everything in their mouth still. We know that they're just starting to walk, so they have more mobility. We know that when little kids play at that age, it's kind of like imagine putting oven mitts on your hands and trying to do anything. That's how they feel. And that's why everything's bigger and chunkier, and also so they don't eat it and swallow it. A 4-year-old is going to play much differently. They're more into imaginative play. They can make up things. There's scenarios that are happening. They can deal with smaller pieces. Their dexterity is better. So you just kind of choose play patterns based on the age of the child to help with designing the toy. So for this one, for instance, this is 3+. So a lot of the reasons we say 3+ is because when you say that on the packaging, you can have small pieces. Like this little piece here, you probably can't see it too well, but it's like a rope. And then there's a little piece, a little pulley. If that came off, like an 18-month-old might be able to choke on that. But if you say 3+, it's like they're not as often to eat stuff at that age. So you can have small parts. And that's going to denote the pieces, the way you play, the hand dexterity needed to pull this down, to move that up.
Yeah.
You need to be at least 3 to do that. So yeah, that's what we mean by play patterns.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I remember doing a little bit of research. We just interviewed Julia Troy, who was a senior industrial designer at Quirky when I was there.
Oh, nice.
And she also had some background in toy. And she, after a catastrophic meeting I had when I was like going over toy concepts, she was like, you need to learn a lot more about toys, and like steered me towards some stuff about play pattern, which now I'm remembering that all of these things that I had learned.
Yeah, this
about
is all
that.
new to me. I mean, I've never done a kid's toy or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, dogs certainly have play patterns.
They
he's
do.
not wrong.
It is true. I guess some dogs can chew, are big chewers and things. So I guess it kind of can cross over a little bit.
You could argue that an 8-month-old is similar to a dog's play patterns.
We actually
you could.
Yeah, we did have like the choke vial things.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were not made for pets. It was the kids' choke vial, but we always tested all the dog toys with.
Yeah, they're like
kids.
these little. They look like shot glasses.
Yeah.
And it kind of emulates the throat
Right.
Yeah.
size and length of a child's.
Yeah.
Before 3.
Every child has a shot glass in their throat.
Shots. That's what toy designers take shots out of those things. That's what we do.
theory.
Like the party.
But so you went through this program, and I mean, was this going through this program? Like, did you feel like this is where I was always meant to be? Like, were there? What was your emotion of like going through this type of specialized program?
My emotions.
Yeah.
But seriously, I was so hungry for it. I was
Yeah.
like a rabid dog. Like
Yeah.
I could not wait to get in there and just destroy everything. As far as like just being fucking awesome.
And it's
like,
a really intense program,
it's
right?
insane. Like that's what I was trying to say before, is like the responsibility of designing for kids, but you have to love it.
Yeah.
You have to eat it, drink it, sleep it, poop it. Everything out of you and into you is toy design for 2 years.
Yeah.
There is a break in the middle. You do get an internship. Everyone gets an internship. It's given to you by the dean. She talks to toy companies and gets you in the door. She's
Wow.
very involved with her students. Like, she's amazing. So you do get an internship, and you have that break. But even during your internship, you get to learn actually in the real world, a toy design company, but you're also getting assignments at the same time. So, But you have to give up 2 years of your life, but it's so worth it if you love kids and you love toys and you want to be a toy designer.
Where did you intern?
Fisher Price in Buffalo.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yes.
And you guys do like, there's like plush toy and then there's hard toy. Cause like plush, like, you know, I would not know where to begin when it comes to plush. Cause I guess I've seen people design for plush and it's a lot of like designing doing illustrations of like the different views of the characters, but you were actually making them as well, right?
Yeah, that school has a lab, which I don't even know if Otis has this, but I'm not getting paid by FIT. I'm not. I don't know anything about Otis. I'm sorry.
I'll go out and investigate this Otis.
I don't know anything about them, but I don't know if they have
Do your teams play each other at the Plush Bowl?
This is a good idea, and you bring your own samples that you like create. But yeah, they have a plush lab, and the professor, she's amazing, Sarah Burnett, currently the professor. But yeah, you have a plush lab where you actually you do turnarounds of the characters. So say you were doing this little guy in plush, which I have done. This
little cat.
This is Quasi, the cat from Octonauts. You would do like turnarounds, so front, side, back, other side, possibly top, and then a 3/4, and then from usually blue pencils, what all toy designers draw on blue pencil.
That's interesting. Okay.
It came from like non-photo blue, and animators use the non-photo blue, and then it kind of, because they do a lot of character designs, then led itself into toy design as being the primary kind of color for pencil. But yeah, and then you go into creating patterns. So it's kind of like fashion design because you're dealing with fabrics and pattern making, but you're making a 3-dimensional thing. It is so niche.
Yeah.
It is so rare to find people who do that. And a lot of the knowledge for that has been sent over to China at like factories that do it now, and they're such experts at it. So not a lot of people here do it. There's very few. And they also do doll clothes, so you can work on like fashion stuff for like fashion dolls and Barbie. But yeah, they have a whole plush lab there, and you actually make your own creation in the studio.
That's sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Actually.
So moving forward to first job.
Yeah, that's always a big question for our listeners is, we have a lot of student listeners. It's like, how do you get that first job? And like, what was that like?
Okay, so, the first job was the pin pads and ATM machines.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, that doesn't really count because I went back to school again.
That was after FIT? Oh, no, that was
after
like
Humber College.
Right, got it.
Right.
It was a means to an end. Take that, pin pad company. But the first job, oh, my God. So, I don't know if anyone's from my class is watching this will be news to them. But, like, I ended up getting the job like 2 months before I graduated because what happens is a lot of the professors at FIT work at Fisher Price. Like my teachers were like the directors and the VP, so they were like kind of scouted, I guess, and they gave me the job, and I wasn't supposed to tell anyone because then it would be like, unfair, like horrible, competitive or whatever. So I got the job while I was in school. So I was like, thank God. Like, I don't have to go back to Canada with nothing. I can stay, I can work, I can be at Fisher Price. It was like a dream.
Right.
So I was lucky. I also worked hard, but I was lucky to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, tell us about your time at Fisher Price. Were there any like notable projects that you worked on that you remember?
Yeah. I would say, like, you had a little screen of, like, all of these, but, like, so Octonauts, okay, so when I first started there, I worked on Dora the Explorer. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Show?
Swiper, no swiping.
Yeah.
Swiper. So I worked on that show, and I was, like, super bored because it was, like, dolls. And I was like, this is not who I am. Like,
was this plush dolls, or this was, like, sculpted?
Plastic dolls with, like, hair. And I would just spend a lot of time styling hair or doing outfits. I did some doll houses, which were cool, but it just wasn't feeling it. And then what happened was this book came in. So what happened to Fisher Price in New York City is that it's all licensed product. So broadcasters will come in and say, oh, this new show is going to be on Nickelodeon. Here's the style guide. Here's the style Bible that this is what the show is about.
Right.
Here's when it's going to be on broadcast. Would you like to create a product line to go with this? Property. So in that, that's how we got things like, Dora or Thomas Thomas was different, but other properties. So what happened was Octonauts was actually originally an illustrated book by this couple, Miyomi. Michael Murphy and Vicky Wong out of Canada and LA. And it was illustrated by them, and it came in the door. And they were like, oh, is this going to be on the BBC? It's going to be a show called The Octonauts. And I saw it, like, out of the corner of my eye. And I just, like, freaked out. And I'm like, I have to work on this.
Yeah.
And I literally followed the VP out of the office, walking down the street. And he's like, I'm going to the train. I'm like, I don't care. I have to work on this. But, Amy, I don't care. I have to. So, like I said, it's so important to be annoying.
Oh, no.
Be...
Is that what we're going with?
Yes, it's worked for me. Look where I am again. But no, really passionate, showing you really care. And eventually he was just like, okay, I can tell you really want to work on this brand. You love the style. You love the artist. Do it.
Yeah.
And I worked on that brand for 5 years, which eventually led to where I am now. But I did hundreds. I did all of the Octonauts products. And that is my most, I would say it's not one product I did, but it's my most, to my heart, important project, because the thing is it's about creating a system. So you're not just creating one toy and it goes out into the world.
Right.
Everything works together. So all the figures fit all the vehicles, and all the tools and gadgets go in all of them, and they connect and they interact, and they're all the same scale. So when the kid plays with an Octonauts toy in the world, all the scale's the same. It's like you get a quasi figure, which is one of the characters. It's this big, and next year it's that big, and it's consistent, and it's a world. And I love building worlds.
Yeah.
Did you start that project with that system-like mindset? Because I feel like certainly, doing all the characters and things is a task. But I think when I think about these systems, it feels like a much larger task to go in knowing that it's going to be a system. And like you have to make that first system correct so that it is the foundation's so solid to continue. Like how did you go through that process?
Well, it's exactly what I did. When we first got the show in, the way the shows would come in for Fisher-Price is it would be like, oh, this will be on for 2 years. Oh, this will be on for 1 year. So we'll just come out with a couple product lines.
Right.
This was looked at like that. And it's still, by the way, on TV. But I didn't. I really felt like this could be more and more like the Imaginext product line at Fisher-Price. I don't know if you know anything about it. It's amazing. So when I started doing this, I really thought of it as I'm going to create every character and every vehicle, and everything's going to work with all the other ones, because I saw it. It's weird. It's like you just sometimes see something in your head, and I'm just going to do it. And I didn't ask, also another bit of advice, never ask for permission, beg for forgiveness.
That's good advice.
You have to, because if you don't, you will never get awesome shit done. And I just said, I'm going to just think in my head, this is going to go on for 10 years as it has, and create it that way. So any future designer, if I'm not here, follows that same programmed thing. So everything connects. It's like Lego. It's like building a system.
Right.
Yeah. No, but it does seem like a very intense undertaking. And I feel like a lot of times at the beginning of projects, like people will have that kind of aspiration in mind, but then you realize how much of a task it will be.
Right.
And you're like, well, that doesn't seem worth it.
Because it's so hard to future-proof a system.
Yeah.
Like what happens if there's a new character or something, and it's like, oh, how does that work?
Well, you just figure it out. But I honestly believe that you need to do the really hard work up front.
Right.
Like even if you're handing it off to someone else, like get in there, man.
Right.
Like get it right, because
it also I feel like it makes the job of any designer who has to like pick it up
much easier.
And much easier. Like having any sort of guidance for a designer down the road who's like, I imagine, did you create, I might have missed you saying this, but did you create some sort of like guide for like building the system?
I mean, there wasn't really a guide needed, just because it was inherent in, like, I had already done like 4 years of product. So every single product had the same size figure and the same size holes in the hands and the feet.
Yeah.
Everything kind of already was set up within 4 lines. And I just assumed if you were going to go in there and not have it line up, like that would be just really stupid. Like it just wouldn't.
Yeah.
It would be like if you worked at KitchenAid and you're like, oh, well, we have the mixer. I'm going to make a bowl that doesn't fit because I'm here now. Like, it's stupid. It's stupid.
That makes perfect
For
sense.
Sure. So how did you go from Fisher-Price to the next thing, or what was some of the big takeaways from Fisher-Price moving?
Fisher-Price was awesome. I was so lucky to work there. I'm not getting paid by Fisher-Price. I was so lucky to work there. I learned a lot because they let their designers work on like shit tons of product at once. So you're thrown into the fire and you're just like, all right, let's do this. You know what I mean? So I learned how to multitask. I learned how to be a self-starter. I learned the leadership qualities. I learned just how to have opportunity to have a lot of stuff to work on and to say that it's yours. That was awesome. And I left and I went to, I don't know, I'm going to mention this place. I left and went to another place for like 5 months and it was a shit show. Realized it within the second week and then like, okay, I'm not going to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And then I went on to work at Lifetime Brands with this fine gentleman right here.
Ah, yes. Lifetime Brands.
Fine gentleman. So yes, I worked there 2 years at Lifetime, and it was kind of cool because if you really think about kitchen tools, like they're just toys for adults.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
I think the thing that struck me about when Amy came in to Lifetime Brands was like, I feel like I had a very particular, and maybe my sketching style is just like a little bit different. In some ways, I feel like I see a lot of people who sketch in a way that seems very systematized and seems very like logical and sort of building things from the ground up. And I feel like I get so loose so quickly. And I was always like, is this the way that I should be sketching? And I would see the other ways. And I feel like when Amy came in, it was a huge comfort to me. Like, first of all, I was just like, oh my gosh, these sketches are incredible. Like whatever that she would be sketching on her desk. But it was also like, for me, reinforcement that like, oh, there's not just like one way that you can address a design problem or even just like sketching in itself. So
it's
like,
so true.
Because I feel like you brought, like, was there really much difference in the way that you were sketching at Lifetime Brands than the way that you would be sketching at Fisher-Price?
No difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's a playfulness in the line that you just kind of have. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you have that. And it's so true that, like, that insecurity of, like, I'm not sketching like everyone else.
Yeah.
I don't fit into this equation. And then finding, for me, that it was toy design that I found my home in. But you have that same thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can do anything, obviously. James is, like, one of the best sketchers that I know. I'm serious.
He is.
I'm not
and
just...
it's so funny.
I'm serious.
Because a lot of the stuff that you post, James, is very quick and iterative, which is also a whole nother great thing. But like if you scroll back, like all the way back to like some of James's early projects, those sketches are like amazing.
What? So they got worse? What are you saying?
Well, you ever see like the life cycle of a designer where like you start out being a student and you're like kind of like learning, and then eventually you're a junior designer and you're pretty good, and senior designer's like, oh wow, this is great. And then you start being a manager, and then a bigger and bigger designer.
And then there's just nothing.
Like,
there's just no sketches.
Yeah. I have like, I don't want to make this segment about me.
I do.
But no, there's just always been this desire for me to be as loose as possible and to be as, because I just like, I don't necessarily like getting so tight with my lines, and I feel like especially in the iterative process, like all I want to be doing is just like the loosest thing, because I feel like that's how you're also thinking about the ideas as you're making them.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
But
totally agree. No, I totally agree, and you have that about your sketching, and it's just, I think it'll also be good for some people to hear who are like junior designers or whatever, that it's okay for you not to match the rest of everybody as long as you're good. Like if you just suck, then it's not okay.
As long as it communicates, then you're fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to do the different types of sketching that you see, because at Lifetime Brands there was a lot of like orthographic sketching, which I wasn't accustomed to.
I do that a lot. Yeah. I do it a lot, but in my style, because I feel like before I do the 3/4, I want to figure out what this thing is. And for me, the way I think, and everyone thinks differently, is I think of everything in the orthographic. In my mind, it's in like a cube, and I'm like moving it. to the different views. And so I do that first, and I use like the source lines to kind of, okay, well, if that draft is here, then it's going to be up here. So I do that first, and then sometimes I don't even do a 3/4, depending on what's going on. I might just go to 3D, but I think that's the most important. That's how I work.
Yeah. That's interesting. Was that always the case when you started sketching, or was it a way you were taught? I know in the toy design program, there is a lot of orthographic exploration.
Yeah. Is it the way that I think actually it's probably from doing drafting classes and and learning about, this is what drafting is, and actually doing it on the vellum with the triangles and all that shit. That's how I learned. I just found it to be really useful for me.
Yeah.
To then do that, to understand the object, and then be able to make it a 3/4. It's all about your brain is wired, man. It's great. We're all so different that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you came from doing toys into this kitchen stuff at Lifetime.
Yeah.
Did you, hearing you talk, it feels like you love toys. And so I'm curious how you felt moving over into more consumer products, more kitchenware.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. I love toys, but I needed a break.
Okay.
And that's okay to say, I need a break from this. And as an industrial designer, what's so great about it is you can do anything.
Right.
You could do any kind of product you want. Luckily, I just got someone in kitchen to take me on. But I really wanted to do kitchen tools for a long time. But I did need a break. And one of my friends calls it my spatula sabbatical. Which... is so true. It was 2 years of just spatulas and dish racks and some other really fun stuff. I got to sketch a lot there. I know what you're saying, though. It's kind of a weird, but yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Were there any fun projects that you remember working on at Lifetime?
This one dish rack I did. I did do a lot of dish racks. I think. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to talk about the dish racks. It's boring. But I did this one sink.
Why not?
I did a line of sink.
Somebody out there is designing a dish rack.
And they're like,
that's terrible. What is great about dish racks, Amy?
It's that no one cares about them.
Yeah.
So you can really care about them. You can really get into the details of the angle of the drainage, the tines, the angle of the tines. You can rethink the entire friggin' thing.
Yeah.
You can think about people in apartments who don't have room for the huge, massive Williams-Sonoma pull-out thing.
Yeah.
You can really think about it differently. So I tried to do that.
Yeah.
And I was pretty happy with the result.
Yeah.
But the one project I worked on was sink brushes.
Oh, yeah.
Worked on a really great line of sink brushes, which ended up being this frosted white color, whatever.
Yeah.
But thinking about the way the sink brush sits, or how it the water drips off it, or if there's scrubbers attached, little things molded into the plastic to make it sit a certain way, or scrape things. It sounds so minutia, when you say it out loud, but I know that's
the thing that's interesting about sink brushes is, for those of us that don't have a dishwasher, you have to use it every day.
Yeah.
And it's a product that you actually are pretty intimate with. You are using it, you realize all the flaws and everything with it. Right. So, I'm pretty critical about sink brushes.
Well, the one that I made, I think you remember this. Because I think you were, I don't know, we were sketching together at some point.
I was also, I think I was doing sink brushes.
Did you do a brush?
I don't think any of the ones that I did were ever made.
Yeah.
But I was doing it for a different brand, but I think we were doing it kind of at the same time.
Yeah, and I loved sketching with you because you were just so fun. But mine was instead of the sink brush laying down, it had if the bristles are this way, it's a one with the handle. It had a little foot going the other way so that you could place it down and the handle up.
Yeah.
So the bristles would drip down, and then that little foot could be a scraper.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. It was different.
Yeah.
I think Faberware did it. It went to production.
Yeah.
So.
Did you work on, I feel like, what were the brands that you worked on while you were there?
Oh, I was really fortunate to work on a lot, and a lot of stuff went through.
Yeah.
Williams-Sonoma, Farberware, KitchenAid. I did a little egg cracker, which was a cool project. Gizmos.
KitchenAid egg cracker.
KitchenAid
I don't even
egg
know what an
cracker.
egg cracker is. What is an egg
Well, it was really cool because it was when you crack an egg, you have to get that edge that's just perfect to stop the crack. Yeah. To stop the, oh my God, look at that. Yeah. So that's the one I designed. So I went through so many prototypes of different edges. Some that were like really sharp and then a curve, and then some that were totally filleted all around, and some that were a double edge, and like all these different iterations to finally get to this. But it's like a fun little item because you can crack it, and then it also has an egg separator in the top, and then it has a little measurement. But I thought it was really fun. It was cute. I thought it was really cute, and I should have bought one. I should buy one now.
You want me to put in? Add to cart.
Add to my cart, please. Free 1 to 3 day shipping. I will have it. That was a good one.
Yeah, I've never even thought about cracking eggs. It seems like it's one of these things that a product you never think about. It seems like such a scientific thing to crack an egg.
I think I have a really bad technique because I always get like egg coming down
on the side of the pan.
It's not
bowl.
you. It's your tools. Buy the egg cracker.
I need it.
1 to 3 day shipping.
I am looking at this picture. There is a little double lip there.
Yeah.
So that is to collect.
Right. The side of the drip.
I'm forgetting this
look at
podcast
that.
is about friggin' details.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So there's
Let's
a
get
double
into
lip
the minor details.
to collect the runoff
Yeah.
and any shells. But yeah, this is an egg separator as well. And it pours out really nice.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But I really loved working on the kitchen stuff because it was just like, it felt the same. It felt the same as toys, but it gave me a break.
Yeah.
And it gave me time to focus on details because when you're doing 100 products a year, you don't really focus on the details.
Now, how do kitchenware designers compare to toy designers? Like, was this pretty toned back, your sabbatical? Was it like sitting on the beach compared to like working?
It was boring.
I have this impression, knowing you, that like everybody in toy design has the same like, positive, like they're just full of energy, like, there's just things flying around in the office all the time. Like people are squirting each other with like water.
I'm trying to find something to throw at you.
Yeah, like flowers on their lapels or like squirting people in the faces at the end of meetings.
No, it's not like that. I mean, it's not like that because I don't know. Okay, so I will say that the personality of toy designers, it varies because there are boring toy designers who are just managers, so they've been doing it a long time, or they're just kind of disgruntled because the toy industry can be pretty vapid as far as like you're in, you're out. Things are, I don't know how to explain it. But it's people, really. I would say it's all different types of people as toy designers, but there is probably more of a percentage of happy people because you have to love it to do it, or you suck and you just like get fired.
I mean,
like
I
you're not going to be around.
Competitive, right? It's pretty competitive.
It's really interesting. I really wish it wasn't. I feel like it can be.
Yeah.
I feel like it can be. And like, what company did they go to? Oh, did they get here? What's this position? But that's like anything.
Yeah,
I feel like it's like any industry's kind of like that because there's not a lot of toy companies and we all know each other and we all know each other too well. So you have to be really careful.
Right.
You know?
Not to make a bad impression or get a bad reputation.
Get a bad review on this podcast.
But eventually, the spatula sabbatical.
So good. It's so good.
It's hard to
say.
#,
spatula sabbatical.
Spatula. Say it 5 times. That's a directive for the listeners. But yeah. So everybody's spatula sabbatical has to come to an end at some point.
Yes. Correct.
And what happened? What brought you out of the sabbatical?
It actually involves a spatula, which is hilarious. I'm not making that up. But it was like, okay, so at Lifetime, we had to get there at like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And we would all leave early because we all lived in the city, like Brooklyn. So we'd all try to get into Long Island early. So it was very early.
Speak for yourself. I came in at 9 o'clock because at one point
Here we go.
At one point, they decided that if you wanted to come in at 8, you could leave at 4, but you could also still come in. No, that happened while you were there.
No, it did not.
Yes, it did.
But you couldn't take lunch then, maybe.
And I forget what it was, but then there was another thing where if you came in at 9, you could just leave at 5.
You know what? No, that happened after me. That happened after me.
I never came in. I'm not an early bird.
I am not either, but okay, well, whatever. Mr. Got favorite treatment.
Record
Mr. Favorite treatment. I don't remember that. Okay, well, I would get in at like 8:30.
Yeah.
And just to answer your question, so I woke up and I went to I went to work. I'm starting to like fade already. Okay, so it's like 8:30, and I go in the rep prototype room, and I was taking out a spatula handle, and my phone went off, and I checked in my email, and it was the CEO of my current company, Lord Wahid, who's actually a lord in Parliament.
Oh, wow.
He owns, he purchased Octonauts and Peter Rabbit and started his own company, which I currently work at, called Silvergate. So this dude, like, I worked with him when I left Fisher-Price, we went out to lunch. He's like, pretty important, big guy, CEO, whatever. And he actually, he's a lord in Parliament in the UK, and he created Silvergate, and he actually co-created Survivor, the TV show.
Oh.
Very interesting, very smart person. I'm not just saying that because he's my boss, but it's true. If he sees this, I guess there it is. But he had emailed me, and he was just like in his email. His emails are very short because he does them all, and he's very busy. And he's just like, Amy, okay, so he's British. Amy, if he's seeing this, I'm going to die. Would you like to come run my product development department? And that was it. And I just answered him back, yes. Can I tell you how much money I want from you? Type thing. And I gave him a number, and he said, okay, over email in like a day. And then I literally had the call with the HR the next day, and it quit.
Yeah.
I was just like, the money, listen, at a certain point when the money is a point where you can pay off your student loans faster, I was a total jerk. I was just like, I quit, and then the money I would have made in those 2 weeks, because you're afraid of like, if I take this job, like, will I be there for a year? Will I be there for 3 years? Is this really going to last? And I was just like, that money in those 2 weeks could help pay off half my loan. Like, I'm just going to go.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But they were cool about it. And then I came over here to Silvergate. So that's that transition. It was like pretty immediate.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive just to like get that email of, hey, you just want to lead up the entire like
well, seriously. And I didn't know, this is hilarious. So I was a senior designer at Lifetime. And I did not know that it was going to be an SVP title until I was like here for a week. And then I found out, and I was like, holy shit.
You're just thinking, oh, no senior designer job.
Imposter syndrome. Like, I should not be here. I should not be here. But if someone believes in you enough to give you that job, just go for it, man. Who cares?
Right.
Don't ask. Don't ask. Just do it.
Yeah, no, it was a sad day for Lifetime Brands, but it was a happy day for Amy,
But we kept in touch, and look at us now.
Look at us now.
Hey. No, you guys are fine. I do think, though, that it's always great to bring a toy designer into the mix, no matter what your company does, because there's a certain outlook and a way of thinking that's totally different that is good.
It's not design thinking, it's toy design thinking. Like, that's...
What do you think?
That could be
because they always talk about design thinking and how design thinking can enhance your business, but you're even talking about like
toy design thinking.
A more specific version of that, which is toy design thinking.
I would say of just a playful person that totally comes in and breaks your spatulas off. Like just one person. You don't have to hire a bunch. I know it freaks people out, but very serious design firms sometimes, like, loosen up, bring in one person who's going to just give you a totally different perspective, because like it's good. It's good to do that.
Yeah.
No,
you think you're just going to relax on your spatula sabbatical and then a toy designer comes in.
Whoa!
So
flips it.
I'm actually pretty interested in this now, Amy, because Silvergate owns a lot of IP, and
correct.
You might need to tell a little more about that. Like, they own a lot of shows and characters, all like kids-based shows. Mm-hmm. Do they, you said they originally bought Octonauts and Peter Rabbit. Do they also create IP?
We do.
So maybe tell us a little bit about that and how that works.
Yeah, so when the company first started, it owned Peter Rabbit and Octonauts, and then it went on to create Sunny Day, which is up here, which is a show about hairstyling for preschoolers, which was on Nickelodeon, and then we sold a Hilda to Netflix after that. So Hilda's a little different. This is Sunny Day.
Oh, yeah.
This was on Nickelodeon, and it was very consumer product heavy, so it's almost like the consumer products were baked in to the IP before it went out to broadcast.
Like, you got a hairdryer, right?
Because hair play is a big play pattern for girls of young age, so they baked that right in. And then Hilda came after that, our first commission by Netflix, about this young girl. The difference between this and Sunny Day are so dramatic. Like, it's 2D, it's older, it's edgier, it's got this homey feel. It's based off a graphic novel by Luke Pearson. So this one is for an older audience, maybe like 8 to 11 on Netflix, whereas Sunny is preschool on Nickelodeon. So we started kind of building out these properties and selling to broadcasters, and then all of these are just following afterwards, like tons of stuff that we're working on.
Are you involved in the creation of these characters at all, or is it you're mainly more on the product side?
So my main job title is to take the IP and make products out of it and toys and all that. But it's kind of cool that I have been starting to get involved over the past few years with these properties. So like for Octonauts, as we continue to look forward to future seasons, what vehicles are we going to do? And do we make vehicles before the show goes to be animated that are inherently have toy play patterns in them that we know are going to be on shelf and a kid is going to want them. But yeah, I'm also like, I help them with the design logo, with like making the logos for the shows. I helped design this one. And also a part of like character design. So for this one, creature cases, and also monkey, you can have these both up. These are both going to be on Netflix. I helped the team when they were looking at character design. We were looking for illustrators for the characters, because the way Silvergate works is we come up with an idea, and then like as far as a show concept, and then hire a writer to write through a script of how the world would be set up, what's the tone, the characters. And then we find an artist who we love, who we team up with to create the world of. So part of that process of finding illustrators that we love and seeing their initial concepts of the characters in the script. So a big part of that. It's been really cool, actually, to kind of go that from toys into now TV and IP creation. I've learned a ton about how shows are made, too.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times when you're dealing with licensed products, you're definitely kind of taking what's already existing.
Yes.
But to have your hand in that initial phase must be like really rewarding and awesome.
And it's just really fun. Like I just love doing new stuff every few years. That's why I feel like I have, in a way, I'm starting to transition into another job. Like it's like I'm still here, but I'm now going into TV production. And in fact, I can't talk about this necessarily, but what it is. But I actually pitched an idea for a kids' TV show for young preschool, like 2 to 3 years old. And I'm currently in development. Okay. And we're working on making the show. So in a couple years, you might see created by me.
That's
amazing.
So it's kind of cool.
Exciting.
That's kind of cool.
And then I assume you would probably get to do products for that as well?
Yes. We were talking to some toy companies actually about partnering before the show is made, because you would say it's going to be on Netflix or whatever it is, or Nickelodeon. I'm not saying it is. Whatever it is, and then the toy companies will make the product along with you during the process, so the toy hits the shelf when the show is on air.
Oh, interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Now you're in this SVP role. Are you doing more managerial things? Like, do you have a team that works on the design, or do you license the IP out and work with, like you kind of mentioned, other toy companies? Like,
yes.
How does that whole setup
So
work?
it's both. It really depends on the project, but I bring in freelancers when I need to do things, but I also love working with other companies. Like for Hilda, we have a line of plush with Gund. Is coming out soon, so I've been working with their team on designing the plush according to this. But it's both. It depends on the project. Like I bring some people in if I need help with stuff, or I work with the team. Yeah. So it's. I feel like I get to do a lot of different things, and I'm finding that that's who I am as a designer, is working at a small company on like an octopus, like tentacles everywhere, versus the designer at Fisher Price 10 years ago who worked on one thing really well, like the gear and the system. And you got to kind of, I feel like, find that out, but you only find that out by working at different places. And find out where you, or maybe you can do both, but I find it's one or the other.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Earlier we were talking about the systems that you developed just like within the Octonauts toys, but now we're talking about not only systems within the toys, but like almost the show itself as being a system and everything surrounding it. I mean, it makes sense. Like once you're familiar with one system, you can kind of expand that out to.
And that's the new way of content.
Yeah.
Is like, it's everything. It's the show meets the product, meets the app, meets the Instagram, what you post. Everything is a part of that 360 experience and system.
Yeah.
And it all has to happen concurrently and at the same time and have the same message. And it's just a new, it's like, because toy design, it's like a new way. Content isn't the new toy design in a way.
Yeah. I feel like the first example I ever experienced of that was like Toy Story. Because like it's like Toy Story itself is just like, I mean, it's sort of an obvious franchise to then make into toys because you've already considered them to be toys.
Right.
There you go.
That makes a lot of sense.
But then I guess like, I don't know, maybe Star Wars and things like that before then were...
Oh yeah, like when Star Wars came out, it was like the movie made nothing and the toys made like everything.
Right.
Because people, kids want to wear that character they love. They want to play with that content. They want to be part of it. It's just my thing is like, I don't want to make characters and shove product down kids' throats just because I know I'll make money at it.
Right.
I want to make meaningful characters that kids want to have with them that teaches them something that is good. It's not just shoving consumerism down kids' throats, because that's horrible. So you have to always keep that right in front of your face.
Yeah.
So you just remember that.
That's interesting. So like when you're thinking about a show, or maybe we can talk about one of these shows. I mean, you did mention the Sunny Day as being like this hair play pattern.
Yes.
But like, is that so? Yeah. So for something like Hilda, like, is there a certain type of play pattern that you're trying to get at with the toys, or are there multiple play patterns? Like, how does that process work?
Well, Hilda's a little different because Hilda's older. It's like 8 to 11, and we're targeting two kind of audiences actually with that product line. So this show is based on the graphic novels by Luke Pearson. I don't know if you want to bring those up. They're really beautiful.
Yeah.
So he's an illustrator from the UK, and we found these books, or rather the producer of the show, Kurt Mueller, found these books, put together a pitch to Netflix, and sold in the show. But the books already have a huge following of people who love these graphic novels.
Yeah.
So you've got the people who are like older, maybe like our age, like 30s, who love this and are like these diehard followers who love the folklore of the books and all the travel she goes on. This is the book version, and then this is the TV show version. And then you have the young kids, young girls, or whoever, boys, who really love Hilda now on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's trying to balance out the product so that both people or different types of people would buy
That's interesting.
that same product.
Because I think, you're starting to get into like more designer toys, something you'd sit on your desk.
Exactly. It's that balance of designer toy that people like us would buy because we love the look of it, the art of it, whatever, the comic.
Yeah.
And then young girls who are going to walk by, don't know Hilda, see her next to Pusheen, Agretsuko, Hello Kitty, and pick her up because she has blue hair and go, she has blue hair. Because that's what they usually do. And love her and want to buy all these fantastical creatures like her deer fox Twig, Woodman, that show up in the show. So it's like balancing those two consumers in one line.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
a fun angle.
product.
Yeah. That's so cool. So yeah, you've got your own show in the works now, and
oh yeah, look at me.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess like maybe we're right up against the end here of the interview, and so
right up against it.
The thing that we always like to ask is like, and it seems like there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to, but like, what are you most excited about? Is it the new show, or is there anything broader in design itself or in toy design that's got you really excited lately? Anything inspiring?
Yeah, I'm really excited to make my own show because that just sounds insane. I don't even know what that entails, but I'm gonna ride the wave and I'm gonna do it.
Would work on a show like Hilda? Like how many people?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the team internally here is like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 people, and then we have an animation studio that does it all. So we hire our animation out.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm most looking forward to in the future. But as far as like design and inspiring, after I listened to one of your podcasts, I stumbled into something else, and this one philosopher, I forget her name, but she was talking about the farm is the future. Okay, so the whole idea of like everything that we do and everything, consumerism. Okay, so we make things. That's what we do as designers. But there's something about becoming consumerish, which really is interesting to me. But when you are consuming, being very thoughtful about it, having a purpose to it, having a reason, not just buying it and putting it in a landfill 2 years later. I can't believe I'm saying this as a product designer. It's like, but it's like we need to think about what we're buying and having it be meaningful every time. What materials, what impact on the environment, like that is very important in product design moving forward. I think a lot of people say this now, but I feel like even more so with climate change and everything that's happening, like how much are we consuming and why? And then this whole idea of like the farm is the future. So like thinking about like everything we need comes from the farm. Our food, our clothing, the things we use, like whatever. So kind of like looking into like the life cycle of products, why we use what we use. Just as a designer, I'm very interested in dabbling in that more, seeing how I can add to the impact of less impact, which is crazy because I've been creating things to consume for so long. It's made me really reflect on how we move forward as designers. So something I think about a lot. And I think everybody should.
Yeah, I mean, I gave this advice to a group of students, and I feel like in order to be in that place to make those kind of decisions and those kind of like ethical decisions, sometimes you have to go this route where you're just like, yeah, you might be creating a lot of product and doing things that maybe on the surface don't seem like they're beneficial or they're, whatever. Like you might have ethical hangups about it, but I feel like what you need to do and what you've certainly done is you have like become a really strong, well-rounded designer to the point where you're able to like come into something and be like look at what I've demonstrated that I can do, and who wouldn't respect that and respect your opinion at that point? It's like when you're fresh out of school, like to get that to like change the world sort of mentality to like get people to listen to you. That's really hard.
You have to do the work first, I guess, and be a part of the problem to be the solution. I
guess. I mean, my take on it, and obviously this could be like 3 podcasts.
I love this. This is the best podcast ever.
But I think no matter where you are in your career, whether you're an intern or whether you're high up in the the ranks, you do have some power. An intern still has some power to create a fillet or something or take away some material.
Right.
It's true.
I think as long as you're doing the best you can with the power you have, that's really how I see it. With the eye
to making a good change and a difference.
Of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But no, the whole farm idea is really exciting too. Like,
I know podcast.
I know Kanye is starting his farm out
in
Miami.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a whole thing.
I'm sure that it's gonna have just sneakers growing out of the ground. Like what is he gonna do? You know what? I'm wrong. Kanye, good for you. You make it. Make it. And Kim's gonna be a lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean,
wait, is my podcast ending with Kanye and Kim?
Oh yeah, it is. This is where we cut. She's gotten like people out of jail. Like in the past couple of years.
She's doing it right now?
Wow. Yeah. She's gotten, I feel like she's gotten like people off death row and stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is she was horrible at first.
Yeah.
And now she's going to do good.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of this whole.
The whole cycle. I mean, yeah, I'm right on board with the whole, like, I see like it being the farm blacksmith like combo. Is like eventually things, because manufacturing eventually will be localized again.
I hope so.
As far as I can tell.
I hope so.
Yeah, 3D printers, things like that.
And so I think like things are going to come a lot more closer to home, like pretty soon. And then industrial designers, like we're gonna be those local blacksmiths again.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go real dark to get back to the light, i.e. Trump, i.e. Bernie. I said it. I'm a Bernie girl. Let's not end this politically, but yeah, that's what I hope, and that's what I'm working towards doing.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's an exciting future.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, thanks again. It was amazing having
I
you on
had
the
a fun
podcast.
time.
Yeah.
And if anyone ever wants to ask me questions, they just email me. I'm cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can link to your email. Is there any other things you would like to promote? Maybe a website? Obviously, you can look up.
No, I don't don't promote anything for anybody. They got enough. They're fine.
Okay, we'll post pictures and
Thank
links
you.
and everything in the comments.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again, Amy. It was a lot of fun. And
Yay!
appreciate your time.
Have fun. Enjoy your life.
All right, as always, I'm at Nick P. Baker.
I'm at I Draw Receipts.
Peace.
Later.